A House Full of Strangers by Emily Rhoads Johnson. Chapter 1. The Takeover. Flora was halfway up the stairs when she heard the rattly bang of an old pickup pulling into the driveway. The sound sent a shiver of dread up her backbone. Pressed into a corner of the landing, she wondered if this was how an animal felt when it was trapped, awaiting capture. From where she stood, Flora had a clear view of the front hallway. Everything in it was so familiar that she could have pictured it with her eyes closed. The glazed umbrella stand, the letter basket, the drop-leaf table with its round lacy doily, the old coat rack with Graham's plaid raincoat still draped over one hook. Through the archway to the living room, she caught glimpses of Miss Kimball hurriedly plumping pillows, straightening curtains, blowing dust off the furniture. Miss Kimball was the social worker who had picked Flora up at the foster home this morning and brought her back here. All she'd talked about the whole way over was how lucky Flora was to have a family coming all the way from Kentucky to take care of her. But what Miss Kimball didn't understand was that Flora didn't want a family. She had tried to convince her, just as she'd tried to convince the judge of the courthouse, that she was perfectly capable of taking care of herself. But all along, she knew it was no use. No grown-up was going to allow an 11-year-old girl to live in a house by herself, even the house she had lived in her whole life. It was too late now to change their minds. Now nothing would ever be the same. Not ever. The door burst open, and suddenly the whole house exploded with running feet and high-pitched voices. "Hey, wow, are you really gonna live here? Hey, look, Ma, a fireplace. I get first dibs on the bedrooms. Do not, toot-toot." Watching her from her corner on the landing, Flora saw a thin, tired-looking woman take Miss Kimball's hand, then turned to the man beside her and exclaimed, "Isn't this the loveliest house, Walter? It's just what we've always dreamed of." But the man wasn't listening. He was too busy trying to grab all the children at once. As they slipped from his grasp and spread in every direction like ants over a picnic table. Some of them disappeared into the kitchen, where Flora heard cupboard doors bang open and shut. A squabble broke out, and someone started to howl. Flora felt as if she were observing a play at school in an auditorium. Surely this was make-believe. It had to be. It couldn't be real. This band of aliens couldn't really be moving in here, turning the house that had been hers and Graham's into some kind of amusement park. But Graham was gone. Flora knew that was real, because she was the one who had found her curled up on the sofa 3 weeks ago with the rose-colored afghan pulled up to her chin. She looked so peaceful there, as if she were sleeping, but Flora had known, even before she touched the cold blue fingers, clutching the afghan, that grandmother's eyes would not open again. A tiny girl clutching a popsicle in one hand toddled unsteadily toward the stairway. It was April and unusually warm, even for southern Indiana, so the sticky pink ice was melting fast and leaving a trail of drips on the floor. "What do you think you're doing, Polly Ann?" Another girl, with dark smudges where her eyes should have been, rushed at the child with a handful of paper towels. "You shouldn't be eating that thing in here. Now go in the kitchen with Curtis while I clean up this mess." Another girl, wearing a striped sunsuit and oversized cowboy boots, was hopping up and down like a small kangaroo, tugging at the woman's elbow. "Let's go upstairs, Mama," she pleaded. "I want to see the bedrooms." Flora froze. They were coming up. She pressed herself even harder against the wall in the desperate attempt to become invisible. "Oh!" The woman stopped in front of Flora and smiled. "You must be Flora. I didn't see you standing there so quiet." She extended her free hand, and Flora clasped it cautiously. "I'm Abby Quigg," the woman said. Her dress was rumpled from the long drive, and her hair fell in limp strands around her face. "You can call me Aunt Abby if you like," she said, laughing, "because in a way I guess that's what I am." She introduced the child at her side. "This is Missy, the young'un who couldn't sit still if her life depended on it." The girl, who looked about 7, peered up at Flora, with eyes as big as washtubs. "Is there a bathroom up there?" she demanded. Abby shrugged an apology and hustled the child up the stairs. The odd thing was, until her grandmother died, Flora hadn't known she had relatives. Of course, the Quiggs weren't full-blood relatives, Miss Kimball had explained to her, but more like half-relatives because Flora's mother was Abby Quigg's half-sister. It was all so complicated and overwhelming that Flora hadn't even tried to figure it out. All she knew was that Grandma had willed her house to the Quiggs on the condition that they live in it and take care of Flora until her 18th birthday. Miss Kimball came to the foot of the stairs and smiled up at Flora. "So there you are!" she exclaimed brightly. "I've been looking for you, dear. Come on down and meet the rest of the Quiggs." The way she had said it made Flora feel like a cat being coaxed out of the tree. Gripping the oak banister with one hand, Flora crept slowly down the stairs. With every step, she felt herself moving deeper and deeper into a long, dark tunnel without any end. A heavy-set man with gentle eyes and a stubble of beard strode out of the kitchen and thrust a hand toward her. "Howdy, Flora," he said. "I'm Walter Quick. We were awful sorry to hear about your grandma. Abby and me, we never had the good fortune to meet her, but we've heard she was a mighty special lady. I know you'll be missing her." Flora stared past the man's shoulder and fixed her eyes on Graham's raincoat. Tears welled up, but she forced them back. She would not cry, not in front of strangers. "This here's Curtis," Mr. Quigg went on, waving toward a chunky boy in the kitchen doorway who was dabbing at his nose with a Kleenex. "The weeds out here in the country are making his allergies kick up, but he'll be better soon's we find a doc in town to give him his shots." Curtis Quigg appeared to be about 10 and had a sullen, unhealthy look about him. He stopped dabbing long enough to narrow his watery eyes at Flora. "You the girl who comes with the house?" he snuffled. "Curtis John," his father reprimanded him. "You keep a civil tongue in your head, you hear? Getting this house is the best thing ever happened to us, and you're lucky to have a nice new cousin come along with it." Flora turned away and looked into the living room, where the girl with the smudged eyes was draped like a dead fish over Grandma's favorite chair. "That's Doreen," Mr. Quigg informed her, following her gaze. "She's 15, going on 25, and spends most of her time wrestling with her hair." He winked at Flora, as if he were letting her in on a family joke. Doreen's hair did look like something that had been recently fought in a wrestling match and lost. observed Flora. It stood out from her head like a cloud of dry yellow seaweed, and the smudges around her eyes, Flora could see now, were from makeup that seemed to have been applied with a caulking gun. "Hi," Doreen smiled and gave Flora a little wave like a parading queen waving from a convertible. Not knowing what else to do, Flora waved back. Doreen raised her long lashes questioningly. "Where's your TV?" she inquired. "I don't see one anywhere." Oh, we don't have a TV." Flora felt flustered. "I mean, we don't have one down here. It's upstairs, in a closet." "In a closet?" Doreen's face squinched up, like she'd bitten a lemon. "My grandmother hated television," Flora explained. "She only brought it down when I had to watch something for school." "Oh," Doreen seemed to have a hard time taking this in. Finally she said, "Well then, it's a good thing we brought our own."